We're going to talk about the being a general evaluator today. And I've got a couple things I want to share my screen and talk from those. And both things, let me share actually by sharing. Share my computer. Where I'm getting these is off of our Free Toast website. If you log in as a member, you come down to the new member basics, and then behind that or below that is this club meeting roles. Click on that, then this takes you to the Toastmasters official website on what those meeting roles, each of the meeting roles are. And also we have a customized for our club, this Toastmaster, sort of a go-by agenda. It's really for the Toastmaster of the day, but the general evaluator also can use this. I'll share now my reader. So that document, the go-by agenda. So what that looks like is, what time we start. We start 12:30. We go through the welcoming pledge, all that other stuff, and then the next section would be for the table topic master. And then this last part of it here is the evaluator, the general evaluator. So this is the script that you should follow. So you'll introduce the evaluator, speech number 1, 2, and 3, all through that. Let them give their evaluation, and then you ask for the timer's report of each evaluator. And then when we were in person, we would ask the audience, in attendance, to vote for their best person who did the best evaluation within the time limits. And then you ask for the AHA grammarian report, and then you give your report as a general evaluator. And when you're finished, you pass it over to the highest ranking officer of the club. That's the format of how you would actually do the general evaluator. That makes sense? Sort of what you've seen before, right?
Yeah, I think my only question is just like, when you get to the evaluation of the meeting where it says 2 to 3 minutes, am I spending 2 to 3 minutes? Or the evaluator? I guess, what is the 2 to 3 minutes on there?
That's a good question. That's the time that each evaluator has, is between 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay.
So to qualify, they're supposed to speak for at least 2 minutes, no more than 3. And then as the evaluator, you really have until, according to this, to 1:25. So to go through all those, get the grammarian report, and then your report is, okay, how much time do I have left? And normally it's 2 to 3 minutes, to give that report. But it's not time, so if you want to give it in 30 seconds, you can give it 30 seconds. If you want to give it in 5 minutes, we may go to sleep, but you can certainly do it in 5 minutes, right?
Okay.
So what does that look like then? What should be part of the general evaluator's report? And that's what, when you go to Free Toast and you go into our Free Toast and link to Toastmasters, you go to the general evaluator, and they've got this checklist. And this is every Toastmasters club for the general evaluator will basically follow this kind of script to evaluate the meeting. So, and these are things you really, as a general evaluator, you want to be aware of really when you come in, or, when we're in person. When we're online, you do the same thing. Before the meeting, was everything set up? Everybody welcomed as far as guests? Were they informed of our format, knowing that, we're going to do this is the time for these things, especially the table topics that they may participate in? Was that announced to them? Were they given that information?
Okay.
The meeting opening, was the president ready? Or this as a presiding officer, in most clubs, some clubs, the president will actually start the meeting, then hand it over to the Toastmaster of the day. Depends on the club. But basically, did we start on time? Was everyone properly introduced? Do we go through the agenda, right? And that's basically what it's saying. Then they're going to ask you to evaluate each individual role, like the Toastmaster. Did the Toastmaster start on time? Did they explain what we were doing? If we have a theme of the day, did they explain the theme? That kind of stuff. Were they properly prepared to fulfill the role as the Toastmaster?
Okay.
For some reason, I can't go with these two. There it is. So, then the general evaluation of the meeting. Did the grammarian, did they properly introduce the grammarian? Did the grammarian do what they're supposed to, what they were supposed to do? Did they do it in a, some people say, well, you had a few and this person had a few, and that's not being quantitative. So they really want you to give credit where the grammarian actually says, John, you had 7 ahs, and Kristen, you had 4 ahs. Really be quantitative. So they want to mention that kind of stuff. Did we talk about the timer? Did we get the timer, especially online? So who's the timer? What does your timing indicators look like, right? Did they announce who the grammarian is? And then was the general evaluation report given, of course. Then the topics master, were they prepared? Could you tell that they were ready for this based upon their theme, their questions, or did they just come into it, oh, I'm the topics master today, let me think of some questions? Were they actually prepared for that? Did they call on people first that does not have a role? It doesn't have a role, number one, but you start off with our Toastmasters, our club members, then you go to any guests, and if we have time, you would go to people, if you need be, that have already had a role. When we have as many people as we do at our meetings, we don't have that problem. Some Toastmasters clubs I've been to will have, 6 to 8 people. By the time you have a timer, a Toastmaster of the day, evaluator, a speaker, table topics, well, you have to choose from those people, right? So fortunately, we're not in that situation where we can choose people that don't have a role.
Yeah. Okay. I have a few questions.
Yeah.
For word of the day that was on there, we don't do a word of the day, do we?
We don't. Some clubs will do that. It's fun to do. They'll throw in a word like spectacular. If you'll use the word spectacular through your table topics response or your speech or introduction, then whoever's doing the grammarian also notes that you mentioned the word of the day. Which just another way for you to think, instead of using filler words like I just did, right? And you use other words that people want you to use.
Yeah.
They're fun to do.
So
Do that some.
But we don't do them, so I don't need to worry about it, right?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
No.
And then what about like people stepping into roles maybe they haven't done before, as the general evaluator responsible for addressing, like, if maybe they didn't get proper preparation instructions or anything like that?
Yes.
Because like they're evaluating them, but the other question is, did they actually know what they were supposed to do?
Yes, and that's a good point. That really and truly, where things go awry, where things don't go like they're supposed to, the table topics person didn't actually mention asking for the time. Can you call that out during the meeting? Well, you can, but it's really not proper protocol to do that. Best way to do it, hey Steve, the best way to do that is let the general evaluator make that note. Hey, Bill, I seen that you were the table topics master today, and you forgot to ask for the timer. This, as the general evaluator, this is the proper place to let people know that they either did good or they did bad. Just like you would for evaluating speech. right? When you evaluate speech, you say, hey, you did this good, you did this good, but you might want to work on this, and you did this good. Same thing with each person who has a role. Timer, you did really good, hold that up, and maybe you held it up way too close and it was too fuzzy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's time for the general evaluator to bring those things out to their attention and help them to improve. Good question.
Okay.
Last thing, talk about there. Did we start on time? Did we stay on schedule? We're pretty good about that in our club, but I could see how some clubs would get on a rabbit trail, start talking about something and not stay on course. And then, of course, the next thing the general evaluator does is turn it back over to the Toastmaster, or for us, it's the highest ranking officer in attendance. So that's just things that, as a general evaluator, you can use to, what do I evaluate this on? And, for me, I like to print this off and just make notes as we go through the meeting. That way, when it comes my time to get the oral part of it, I go down to my list, see where I've wrote some things down and bring those up as part of my evaluation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Steve, you got anything?
No, I just I didn't the form that I was using, I don't think was this exact form. So this one's off the Toast.
Yeah, this
Okay.
one's off
Right.
of Toastmasters International.
Okay.
I'll
go look for that then.
It's more, if you go, actually, I was sharing that if you go to our free Toast site, I made an update yesterday, and it has a link to all the the roles, meeting roles, and you can drill down from there.
Oh, sweet.
And also put that the go by for the Toastmaster of the day.
Yep.
This document here.
Yep.
It's also on that as well.
Cool. Thank you, sir.
Now, yes. Now it's. I've been wanting to do that for 6 months. Finally, took the time to do it yesterday. So it's got a Word document if you want to edit it. It's also a PDF if you just want to print it. It links to the Toastmasters page that has all the roles and specifics, stuff like this that you can download.
Cool. Very good.
So that's the short and long of it. Not a lot to it. Paying attention. Actually, here's another good question that is brought up to me sometimes. Is the general evaluator responsible for filling all the roles of the evaluators? And I think technically they are, but I would lean more to the Toastmaster of the day filling those roles to ensure all the roles are filled, especially the general, the evaluators, and putting that responsibility on the general evaluator. That's a preference. That's my take.
Well, especially since like this last time I signed up for the general evaluator role after the other two evaluators were in there. So sometimes they don't end up being in that order. It's more likely the Toastmaster will be filled before.
And the Toastmaster is already in that mindset of let me be sure I have everything filled, where the general evaluator really is not in that mindset, I don't think.
Yeah. And then I guess the VPE would be the next one in line if the Toastmaster's not doing it.
Right.
So.
Okay. Well, that's a short and long of it.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts, Kristen?
No, that's very helpful. I just want to make sure I understand. I go into the club meeting roles and I'll be able to find both these documents.
Yeah, let me share back to my screen. Okay, can y'all see that? On I go to the meeting agendas. Here's our agenda for next week. And if I go down to club meeting roles right here, this page will have 3 links. The go-bys for the Toastmaster, that's the Word format and PDF format, whichever one you want. Then this link will actually take you to Toastmasters International. It has all the roles, right? want to learn more about the grammarian, or, Toastmasters really separates those as all counter and grammarian, two different roles. We put them together, the all counter grammarian. But some clubs will separate those two. So we were talking about the general evaluator. Go down to that. That tells you, the responsibilities of it, and there's that checklist that I had already downloaded.
Okay, great. Thank
Mhm.
you.
If we went back, and speaking of what Steve said, if I look at the timer, here's a timer script log. If I download that, it looks, here you'll be able to see if I do this. Nope, you're not able to see that, are you?
No.
How about if I share that? Nope, it's not on that.
Oh, it's. I think it's no. That's not it. No, I'm not sure where it went. Maybe it's just in your download folder. So.
How about share my screen? Better.
There it is.
That tells you that I like this script because it actually tells you, most speeches are 4 to 7. It tells you when to raise the green, yellow, and red card. Icebreaker is this. The evaluations, there's the evaluations. When to raise your card for them. And the second page is actually where you actually write those down and keep time. So that's a pretty good little document there.
Yeah. Have you seen my my red, yellow, and green backgrounds? Good thing.
Oh yeah, yes. I absolutely.
I downloaded those from the Toastmaster site. So.
And the way I've heard you use that also is to take and cover up your camera.
Oh, so you don't show up at all? Yeah.
So you don't show up at
yeah.
all. When you do, yeah. Now all we see is a red background.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, that's I like those too. They're a little more technical. Not everyone in the club would be able to do the backgrounds like that.
Yep.
So for those who can, for certain, those are by far the best way to do that. But
yep.
Much more cleaner and easy to understand.
Yeah, I thought it's funny. I've noticed that sometimes when somebody holds up a green, that if you hold it too close, it looks yellow.
Oh yeah,
because there's not enough light hitting it. So
yellow turns out to be cream, or whatever. All kinds of things.
But one thing that that I personally have had a challenge with when doing like the general evaluator role is switching from, because you're basically when I'm doing it, I'm taking notes right up until the point to where I turn around and start talking. So and I guess it may be just that working more on extemporaneous speaking and getting better at that, because really it's almost like you're doing that because you're taking notes on the meeting right up until the point to where you start talking. So it's so
you got a little bit of an outline, but still, what are you going to say? What are you going to emphasize? What, like Kristen, we were talking about, who do you point out, that they did a really good job, or that they probably didn't do their job correctly? Not to be mean about it, but say, hey, when you hold the timer thing up, the timer thing should be up where we could see it, not like that. Whatever. Mention those things to where it's
yeah, it's like
positive.
This looks green. This looks green from here, but you put it up real close. No. Yeah. And I was talking about also, in the general evaluator report, that is the place that you would say, hey, what, you should have done this, you should have done that. Not during the meeting. I've heard people during the meeting say, oh, you forgot to ask for the timers report. Well, the proper protocol is to let the general evaluator cover that if it wasn't done properly. Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's not going to make a hill of beans, if it wasn't done in the proper time or procedure. The world's not going to come to end. We're not going to take anybody's birthday away. And it gives you a chance to learn if you make that mistake. And somebody points it out to you, hey, you should have done this. You should have, as a Toastmaster today, you forgot to introduce the guest first thing.
Yeah. Or, except, and then if the general evaluator forgets to ask for something, say like I don't know, a timer report or a odd
Yeah.
counter thing, then
Yeah.
the Toastmaster will usually fill in that part. or
Exactly.
the-
You know what? And if they ended the meeting and we never did ask for it, I don't think it would be the end of the world. You know?
Right.
But now,
Well, except,
you know,
except for you have to know who's qualified, at least from on the
Right,
evaluators.
right. and somewhere along the line, probably the timer would say, "Hey, you forgot to ask for this." You know.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Oh, good.